Hello, everybody. This is Fernando for the latest ghost and horror stories. As always, these entries come from the Reddit.com website there on a subsection called Free Horror Stories. I'll include the link below for the story here in its original format. That way, if you wanted to go check it out on your own, you'll be able to see it there. But yes, this has to do with a scary encounter with an eerie-looking doll located there in a home. Those of you that follow my videos for years know that I too have this kind of aversion to eerie looking dolls. Not necessarily that I'm outright scared of them, but at the same time I just don't want to deal with them altogether, especially when they're supposedly haunted or maybe even cursed in some manners. Some of you may have the same feeling as well. But yes, this happened to a user there known as the leader of Decepticons. They wrote this about 2 years ago, and they titled this entry as The Doll in the Storage Room. So let's go ahead and let's share this eerie story here, and then I'll give my final thoughts afterward. So here's essentially what this user stated. When I was younger, I'd go visit my grandparents all the time. They lived in a one-floor house with an unfinished basement. I never liked it down there because it felt small for such a big basement. There was a little door down there that was for storage, and I always got a horrible feeling when going close to it. And this was a newer house that was just about 6 years old. Now, during this time, I was about 6 or 7, and I felt so uncomfortable going down there, even when I was with someone because I just didn't like it. In fact, I remember going down there with my grandma to help with something, and she had to run upstairs because someone rang the doorbell. She said she would be right back, even though she knew how I felt about being alone down there. But I nodded, and she said, okay. So she was gone, and I was alone, and I started to get a bad feeling in the pit of my stomach, and I didn't move, and I didn't want to, even though the lights were on. Now, this is where everything started happening, and it still gives me chills to this day. The light started to flicker, and I started to hear noises and what sounded like talking, and it was not coming from upstairs, but here within the storage room. I actually heard someone say my name, and here's the part that freaks me out the most. The voice sounded like my grandma. I was confused as how the hell I was hearing her when she was upstairs. I didn't want to move, but me being curious, I started to move towards the storage room door, and the closer I got, the worse the bad feeling became. When I got to the door, the lights turned off in the basement. I wanted to run upstairs and hide and go somewhere. At least that wasn't this basement. I heard my name again for a second time, my grandma's voice asking me to open the door to help her. So I did, and I regret it. I couldn't see anything. It was pitch black. I couldn't hear anything but faint laughing that felt like forever. But then that laughing stopped, and the lights turned back on in the basement, and I felt a little bit better with the lights back on. But the downside is I could see a little in the storage room, and there I saw a small clown doll in the storage room, and my grandma hates dolls with a passion and wants nothing to do with them. So why is there a clown doll? I have no damn idea. Then the lights turned on in the storage room. I saw red that looked like blood all over the place. I screamed and blacked out, and the next thing I knew, I was laying on the couch, my grandma looking at me and asking if I was okay. I have no idea if that was real or a dream, but it sure as hell felt real. If you have any ideas, please let me know. And then that's pretty much it. That's the end of that story called The Doll in the Storage Room. So as you can tell, it looks like this happened at the home associated with the grandparents. This was someone that was very young, went down there into the basement, was left alone after the grandma had to excuse herself, and that's when all this calamity ensued. And what was interesting was anything involving that doll, that eerie looking doll, the way that that person sounded like, the grandma didn't like dolls, they didn't like dolls, and yet what on earth was this doll doing there? And what was causing the lights to go out, and what was causing that eerie sensation? Not to mention, of course, things involving the voice, the sound of a grandma's voice directing this person to go straight to that door. Eerie, eerie stuff. As far as my own opinions on this, I can definitely state great that there is, or there are things out there that can throw voices. I'll give this nice little detail. When I was there at a haunted place called Yorktown Hospital in Yorktown, Texas, I too have heard a voice that was mimicking someone else's. There I was by myself in an area just resting. What would have been under normal conditions if the hospital was open, it would have been almost like a waiting room area. I was just there waiting, looking at some of my footage from the camera when I heard someone in the far corner say my name. In fact, it was almost like they were screaming my name out loud to catch my attention. And it sounded like the voice of one of the members of the ghost group I'm in. And when I realized, that somebody was calling me, I decided to go outside to try to check out what was happening, thinking that maybe that voice was coming from out there, even though it sounded like it was more coming from inside. And when I asked if anyone had called my name, nobody in the group did so. Nobody said that they did. They stated that no. In fact, they were just nonchalantly talking about other things. Nobody had screamed my name out loud. And so I knew that something in there within the hospital was mimicking the voice of one of the members of the group and wanted me to go off into a dark area, somewhere there that would have been far away from the safety and the, I guess, more open area that I was at. And who knows what would have happened there. But yeah, that was pretty freaky when I ran into that situation. So reading this info here, having this doll essentially try to mimic that same voice from the grandma, and then trying to attract someone, or in this case, the little child over to that location. It definitely made sense to me because it almost happened to me too. But what do you guys think as far as this story, the doll in the storage room? What could have been in terms of it being there? Was it an evil entity? Was it something else, haunted or cursed? Anyone else have a similar experience as well? I'd love to hear where your comments are. All right, everybody. Thanks again as always. Take care. Bye.